Hey everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of One More Round with Rob. Here today, I'm going to be breaking down UFC 258, which occurred this past weekend. Before we get into that, I want to give you guys a little bit of how I'm going to structure the show. So for all of my MMA cards that I'm going to break down, UFC, Bellator, ONE FC, KSW, all the MMA cards I break down, I'm going to take 2 cards from the preliminary card if they broadcast it, and then I'm going to take 3 fights from the main card. So the 3 fights I'll take from the main card are going to be the main event and the co-main event, and then 1 fight prior to those 2 that I thought was interesting, and in a way I didn't think it was going to, or I just loved the matchup when it came out. On the boxing side, their cards are set up a little bit differently, so much so that even sometimes they seem like 2 different cards. So their preliminary card will look like 1 card, and their main event card will look like a completely different card, but they're all in the same event. Either way, what's going to happen there is I'm going to take 2 of the prelim cards fights, and then I'll take the 2 main card fights, which is normally how boxing sets it up, and I'll break those down for you. But today, we're talking UFC 258, so let's get into it. The first fight that I broke down was Gabe Green versus Phil Rowe. This was on their early prelim card. It was supposed to be the second fight of the evening. It ended up being the first because the fight previous to them fell through from one of the fighters got an illness that was not COVID related. Either way, that fight got scrapped. Gabe Green, Phil Rowe start us off, and man, did they give us a treat. Gabe Green comes out and he starts firing leg kicks immediately in the first round, just peppering that front leg of Phil Rowe, low calf kicks, thigh kicks, everything like that, just really peppering it. The stand-up, boxing-wise, was pretty good between both guys. I felt Phil Rowe got a little bit of the better stand-up in that regard, but Gabe Green definitely did some stuff with those leg kicks. Coming out in round 2, Gabe Green again starts peppering that front leg of Phil Rowe. He's definitely hurting it at this point. You can tell that Phil is starting to feel the effects of those kicks. He's definitely not wanting to put as much pressure as he was in the first round on it. Even still, good boxing back and forth between the 2. However, Gabe Green starts stinging Phil Rowe a little bit more. And at one point, I thought he could actually finish him, but Phil Rowe survives. We go into the 3rd round. Now, Phil Rowe's leg he's pretty hurting right now. He's definitely feeling it. But even though he's feeling it, he's able to take Gabe Green down. He controls him for a decent amount of the first half of round 3. Almost said round 1. It was round 3. So a decent part for the first half of round 3. Then Gabe gets up, and he has definite success with stand-up. He, again, leg kicks, the boxing, worked in really well. How I felt going out of this, I thought Gabe Green was definitely going to win the fight. And that's what the judges saw as well. Judges gave it a unanimous decision win for Green. Not taking anything away from Phil Rowe. Phil Rowe was game. He came in. Those leg kicks, I know, stung. They are terrible. But he took them. He battled back. He, did everything he could. Just not enough for the win that night. Second fight I broke down for you guys was Belal Muhammad and Diego Lima. This was the 3rd fight on the preliminary card. So a little bit of a separation the UFC does for their early prelim card and their prelim card. They all run through ESPN Plus for the most part. The prelims cards will also kind of simulcast on ESPN as well, but they separate them that way. So Belal Muhammad and Diego Lima was the 3rd fight on the preliminary card. Muhammad comes out lands a good body kick on Lima and just starts walking him down with confidence immediately. Lima, though, also comes back. He starts landing those calf kicks, just like Gabe Green did against Phil Rowe, starts landing them against Muhammad, and he did not like it. Almost immediately started switching stances, which is a very good indication that those are making some dents in that armor there. But 40 seconds left in the round. Lima lands a strong right hand. Kind of rocks Muhammad a little bit there. But overall, I think Muhammad, with his boxing throughout the round, was able to kind of etch that one out from Lima. Round 2 comes out. Lima continues with the calf kicks. He lands 3 strong calf kicks right in the first 30 seconds of the round. And this definitely appears to compromise Muhammad's leg. Definitely, he's feeling it. He's not liking it. He's more likely to switch that stance, which he did a couple of times. But despite that, Muhammad still maintains that good boxing that he had in the first round, and he's able to start landing some combinations on Lima as well. Coming out of this round, I thought Muhammad had the better boxing. Yeah, he ate those leg kicks, and they were definitely affecting him. But even in this round, he kept walking Lima down. He was backing Lima up almost the entire fight throughout all 3 rounds here. So he was backing him up almost the entire fight. He continued to do that here in the second round, just walking him down, giving him pressure, landing good strikes with the boxing. So I thought Muhammad had the round as well. Third round, Muhammad comes out. Great boxing still. Nothing surprising here, especially in this fight. And Lima, almost immediately in the third round, I was watching him and I was like, ooh, he seems pretty low on gas here. Now, that can be because he was coming into this fight after a 16-month layoff because he had neck surgery. Definitely, I think, could have played a role in his conditioning. But even still, I thought, Lima coming in here, his conditioning would be on par. He'd be able to go 3 rounds like he used to. It didn't appear to me starting off the third round. Even still, Muhammad kind of takes even more advantage of this now. Great pressure coming into the third round. Great pressure continued through the third round. A great pace and boxing. Just, I think this was probably his most dominant round against Lima. Was the third round. And I think part of that has to do with the conditioning factor. I think Lima lowered conditioning in that third round, definitely played a role in how Muhammad was able to walk him down. But the fight's the fight. Definitely Muhammad's best round. After the fight, I definitely thought Muhammad took it. I thought I probably gave it to him 30-27. At worst, I would have given it 29-28. Judges saw it, all 3 for below Muhammad as well. Not really a shock to me based off of how everything went. On to the main card now. So the first fight I broke down was the second fight of the evening on the main card, which was Ricky Simon and Brian Kelleher. These 2 guys are always game. So I loved this fight when it was announced. It was one of those fights where I was like, this is going to be a great fight. And it was. So, round 1, Simon comes out. In the first 15 seconds, boom, takedown. Right in the first 15 seconds around. Doesn't waste any time. 30 seconds into the round, while he's on the ground, lands, bang, big elbow right to the right side of Kelleher's upper nose eye area. So right in here. Boom, big elbow. Cut opens up. And Kelleher is bleeding. He's got some blood flowing out of there. I was actually concerned at one point that the doctor might come in and look at it and stop the fight. Luckily, that didn't happen, and you guys get this whole breakdown because this was a pretty game fight. So he gets that cut on the area. About midway through the round, they get back up to the feet, and then Simon gets another takedown shortly thereafter. Last minute of the round, guys get back up to the feet. Kelleher actually comes on strong, and he has great success with his stand-up. And if it weren't for Simon having that good elbow and the takedowns and the good control on the ground, I think Kelleher might have been able to squeeze out that last round with how much success he was having in the stand-up in that last minute. But Simon had great success on the ground, and throughout the majority of the round, I gave the round to Simon. Round 2, Kelleher comes out and lands a front kick to the face about 30 seconds into the round. Very Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort-esque. It was a beautiful front kick right up the middle, split Simon's guard right in the face. And honestly, I thought that could be the start of Kelleher getting something rolling here. Because then he landed it again about a minute and a half into the round. So he lands it about 30 seconds into the round, and then a minute later, he lands it again. And I'm thinking, all right, here we go. This is going to be Kelleher's round, and this is going to be a great fight. Ricky Simon had another take on that though. So he comes out and he takes him down with about 2 minutes left in the round. Kind of gives him some control. Fight gets back up to the feet, and Simon this time appears to get the better of the last 30 seconds of the round. where he's kind of landing better strikes on the feet, landing, the better kicks. He's kind of dictating the pace of that portion of the round. Now, I will say this: the slower pace in the beginning of the round definitely favored Kelleher. I thought that played to his advantage, and I thought if he could keep that up, he could win the round and he could win the fight. But Ricky Simón, once he got that takedown, that whole pace just flipped. And when they stood up on that for that last 30 seconds, Simón he just kept that pace that he wanted to push. And Simón, he can push that pace for a while. So round 2 goes to Simón again in my book. Coming out for the third round, Simón attempted a takedown about a minute into the round, but Kelleher actually defends this pretty well, and Simón just kind of resorts and settles for clinch control up against the cage. And then 2 minutes later into the round, Simón actually gets the takedown. A minute after he gets the takedown, starts to go for a Kimura. Kelleher defends it. They have some exchange on the ground. They end up back up, and that final 30 seconds of the round, again, Kelleher comes out banging, and actually, I felt got the better of the stand-up exchanges in that last 30 seconds. Now, again, if Kelleher had come out and he had the control of the pace of the first half of the round like he did in round 2, and then he had that 30-second blast at the end of the round, I could have given Kelleher the round. Unfortunately for Kelleher, Simón came out and immediately just wanted to grapple and clinch with him, and that kind of made the pace that Simón wanted, not really the pace that would benefit and that Brian would want. So unfortunately, I gave round 3 to Simón. So I gave all 3 rounds to Ricky Simón. The judges also saw that. All 3 judges gave it 30-27. Unanimous decision win for Ricky Simón. Great fight overall, though. Brian Kelleher, game guy, always comes out to bang. Awesome fight. Ricky Simón, another guy that always comes out to bang. Always comes out. He's got incredible pace, and that's just what separated these two on that night, in my opinion. Was Ricky Simón came out and he just wanted to push a pace that Brian Kelleher unfortunately couldn't keep up with. Third fight I broke down was actually the third fight on the main card. Now, this was the number 9 middleweight in the world, Kelvin Gastelum, versus the number 15 ranked middleweight, Ian Heinisch. Now, Kelvin Gastelum, the middleweight limit is 185 pounds. Kelvin Gastelum actually fought at 170 pounds a couple of times, actually for the beginning portion of his career. And seeing this guy at 185, I don't know why he would have fought at 170. He looks a lot more full, in a good way, at 185 pounds. I think at 170, he was just draining himself way too much, and I think it was actually hindering his ability to have a good fight. At 185 pounds, he doesn't have that problem. And he made it apparent, being a former interim middleweight champion. So, let's get into this one. Round 1 comes out, and Heinisch immediately comes out with calf kicks. This is a theme that you're probably going to see a lot for the very near future of MMA. These low calf kicks and these guys coming out and immediately starting to tag guys with that calf kick. These guys know that if you can shut down this guy's calf, you can pretty much shut him down and control him for the rest of the fight. So Heinisch comes out and immediately starts blasting Gastelum with a calf kick. Then he gets a takedown in the first 15 seconds. So he goes calf kick to a takedown, gets the takedown. Then the problem was he attempted a Kimura. On that Kimura attempt, Kelvin defends it, gets up, and he gets a takedown of his own. Ian, though, Heinisch, attempts another Kimura at this point. And this time, I think, was the one where he really should have used better judgment on this one, because Kelvin sweeps him, gets into the mount, and he controls him there. They end up back up on the feet, but the last 2 minutes of the round, Kelvin controlled the stand-up, the wrestling, and the jiu-jitsu exchanges that they had. So starting with that sweep that he had from the Heinisch second Kimura attempt when he swept him to the mount, Kelvin really pretty much took over from there. So he had better wrestling. He had the better jiu-jitsu. When they were back up on the feet, I thought he had the better of the standing exchanges. So I gave the first round to Kelvin Gastelum, no doubt in my mind. Round 2, Kelvin comes out, and he starts landing low kicks, the calf kicks, everything like that, in the first 15 seconds of the round as well. So, same situation, just reverse the roles. Instead of Heinich coming out and kicking him in the leg, he said, no, I'm going to come out, I'm going to kick you in the leg. And this is how it's going to go. So then, minute into the round, Heinich tries a flying knee, which sometimes, if you set it up well, can work great. In this instance, I don't think it was set up the best. Kelvin actually almost pretty much catches him and gets a takedown off of it. After a while, they make their way back to the feet. Again, Kelvin, in my opinion, controlled the grappling in this exchange after he took him down from the flying knee attempt. So Kelvin's controlling the grappling exchange. They make their way back up to a feet. Heinich actually lands a good body kick with about 30 seconds left in the round. And body kicks can be just as effective as those low calf kicks. Sometimes even, in my opinion, sometimes even more. Because if you take a couple of good kicks to the body, that's going to empty kind of your gas tank, so to speak, pretty quick. You know, you get kicked in the body a couple of times, harder to breathe. So when you can't breathe, you can't get that oxygen in your muscles. Muscles are like, hey, we're going to start getting tired a lot quicker. So those low calf kicks work well. Those body kicks, I think, work just as well. Overall, Kelvin controlled the stand-up and wrestling exchanges. Definitely controlling the wrestling exchanges better in this round. I gave round 2 to Kelvin as well. Round 3. They come out. They exchange leg kicks early this time. So Kelvin comes out and lands some leg kicks. Heinich also comes out and lands some leg kicks. And then Heinich goes and gets a takedown about 30 seconds into the round. But Kelvin pops right back up. So kind of a negligible exchange on that part, in my opinion. Heinich comes out again, attempts another flying knee. Now this worked out great for him in the second round because he got taken down right away. This worked out the exact same way in round 3. So Heinich goes for the flying knee. Kelvin grabs him pretty much out of the air, takes him down, and then Heinich ends up sweeping. He gets back control on Kelvin. So it kind of worked out in his favor for a little bit because he has back control for Kelvin for at least a short period of time. And then Kelvin reverses him, gets top control, and pretty much controls him there. They make their way back up to the feet. Good exchange between both. I think Kelvin had a little bit of a better exchange. Kelvin and Heinich both exchanged takedowns in the last 30 seconds of the round. So I believe it was Heinich that got the first takedown in that instance. He took him down. Kelvin got to his hip, got up, and then Kelvin ended up taking Heinich down. It may have been reversed. Either way, they exchanged good takedowns. Kind of nulled each other out on that instance in the last 30 seconds of the round. So it was really what did they do in the round leading up to that point. And again, I thought Kelvin had the better wrestling control. He had the better grappling control. I thought he landed a little bit better in the striking department. So again, I gave the round to Kelvin. How the judges saw this was Kelvin Gastelum won by unanimous decision. 2 judges, though, gave 2 rounds to Kelvin, 1 round to Heinich, to Ian Heinich, that is. So they gave Kelvin the win by a score of 29-28. The third judge gave Kelvin Gastelum all 3 rounds, so a scorecard of 30-27, which is what I had as well. And so that was how that broke down. Again, I didn't know a lot about Ian Heinich coming into this fight, to be honest with you guys. I really didn't. But seeing this fight, this guy is definitely somebody I'm going to keep an eye out for coming up. To go in there with a guy who's a former world champ and hang in there and do your thing and land some strikes, land some takedowns, have 2 Kimura attempts on him. I wouldn't recommend him trying the flying knee all that often anymore after how it worked for him both times he tried it this fight. But hey, man, if you go in there and land it, it is going to be it sometimes can be an absolute night changer for the guy that lands it. Moving on, co-main event time. So you have the number 10, 125-pound fighter in the world, which is your flyweights, women's flyweights, that is. So number 10 women's flyweight in the world, Macy Barber versus number 15 Alexa Grasso. Now, this is Macy Barber's first fight back in about a year after she tore her ACL in her previous fight, which I believe she tore it either late in the first round or early in the second round. Either way, she finished the fight. That fight went to a judge's scorecard decision. She actually lost that fight, which I agreed with the decision. The person she was fighting was Roxanne Modafferi, and Roxanne just absolutely controlled her on the ground. That in mind, I thought it was very impressive that she actually finished the fight with a torn ACL, especially being in a sport where you are constantly doing lateral movements and, you know, moving on angles and everything like that. And that's what your ACL does, is it helps hold your knee in place so that you can do those movements. She did the fight with a torn ACL, and I thought that was incredibly awesome. Definitely won over in my book that she's a gamer and she's ready to go. But this is her first fight back. Let's see how she did. Round 1, Macy actually comes out and she has surprisingly well movement for what I was expecting with her coming off an ACL injury. She was moving around like she had never torn the thing. She was incredibly confident with her movement, and I thought when she came out like that, I thought this was going to be a good fight for her. I thought, you know, she was going to be in Grasso's face. I thought she was going to, you know, really control the pace and everything. And I thought it was going to be the start of a great night for her. So they come out, they have a clinch battle back and forth about a minute into the round. So girls they're up against the cage, they're switching positions back and forth. Macy has control sometimes, Alexa has control sometimes. It's a great back and forth exchange, honestly, really good. About a minute into the round, so that was about a minute into the round. About 3 minutes left in the round, Alexa lands a good 1-2 combination, so a good jab straight combination, which then kind of ends up into another clinching exchange because Macy was like, ooh, that kind of rocked me a little bit. Let me get my bearings back. So at about the halfway mark there, that's when that occurs. And that exchange of clinch work happens again. Again, another great exchange of clinch work. So Macy's got control sometimes, and then there are times where Alexa flips it and she gets control. Great exchange of clinch work there. And that's from like the halfway mark until like a minute left in the round. So they're looking at about a minute and a half of exchanging there, which is exhausting for anybody that tries to do it, even for that short amount of time. You can try to prepare for this kind of stuff in fight camp, but there's a different level that you get to between fight camp and the actual fight. There's just, and anyone that plays any kind of sport will tell you that. There's a different level between practice, even when you're going live in practice, and when you actually go live in the contest. So that minute and a half had to have been exhausting for both of them. Macy lands a good elbow as they separate, though. So they separate with about a minute left with about a minute left in the round, they separate. Macy lands a good elbow, but Alexa, in my opinion, seemed to control the round for the most part. I thought she got the better of the clinch exchanges, even though they both did pretty well. So I gave the round to Alexa. I think if Macy was able to do a little bit more after that elbow she landed, she would have done better, and she may have earned a nod from me in that round, but she wasn't able to land much after that elbow, so I had to give the round to Alexa. Round 2, Alexa comes out, gets the better of the stand-up for the first minute. She starts, coming out. She's landing good shots. She landed a couple of leg kicks, which was good. And then she also lands a good uppercut about a minute and a half into the round, and Macy did not like this at all. She clinches almost right away to try to get her bearings back, and she was definitely rocked. They separate. Macy then lands a good right hand with about 2 minutes left in the round. Then, off of that right hand, gets a takedown about 30 seconds later. Unfortunately for Macy, this is where I thought Macy was going to, start to get some control. Unfortunately, Alexa sweeps her and then pretty much controls the ground battle for the rest of the round until the round ends. But a good showing for Macy, especially after getting rocked with that uppercut from Alexa. She, grappled with her, got her bearings back a little bit. They get the separation. Like I said, she lands that good right hand, uses that almost as like a transition for her takedown. And, so really showing that she could recover in that instance. Unfortunately, Alexa got a little bit of the better grappling exchange. Like I said, swept her, controlled her for the rest of the round. Again, I had to give Alexa the nod for the round. Round 3, Alexa comes out and again has the better of the stand-up exchange for the first minute and a half. So now, same thing. Alexa's coming out. She's landing the better strikes, kicks. She's kind of controlling, dictating the pace of how this is going to go. Two fighters clinch again. That was kind of a theme throughout the entire fight. They had really good clinch work, especially up against the cage. But Alexa controls it in this instance. With about 3 minutes left, Macy comes out, gets a takedown, and begins to open up a little bit better. She at this point in the fight, her corner had to have told her, like, hey, we have to open up. We have to get a finish. They had to have known that they were down. In my opinion, she was down 2 rounds to 1. 2 rounds to none. So in my opinion, she was down. I thought she had to open up immediately out of the gate of round 3. And Alexa actually came out doing the better of that in round 3. Macy ends up starting to open up here after that takedown. Starts to open up. They get back up. She starts opening up with stand-up strikes as well. She's not giving Alexa a lot of time and space. She's pressuring her, doing a really good job of that. Ends the round with a takedown with about 10 seconds left in the round. Not a lot of time to do anything with it, and she didn't really do anything with it, but she landed the takedown. So, in my opinion, I gave Macy the nod for round 3, but I gave the nod for rounds 1 and 2 to Alexa. So I had Alexa winning 2 rounds to 1, which would have been a score of 29-28. The judges also saw it that way. They came out, all 3 judges' scorecards scored it 2 rounds to 1. So the 29-28 score to Alexa Grasso by unanimous decision. Great win for Alexa Grasso. This might give her a little bit of a bump up in competition coming out next time. But the way that she performed against Macy Barber, I don't know that she's going to have that much difficulty with a little bit of a bump up. Now, I don't think she should be going and fighting the top 5 girls in the division. I think, she should still hang around that 6 to 10 ranking area. I think Macy's definitely going to drop a little bit. She's not going to drop out of the top 15. There's no way that's going to happen because she was pretty game in this fight as well. But she's definitely going to drop out of the top 10. I think Alexa kind of takes a step towards that top 10. I think she should stay in that number 6 to number 10 range for her next opponent. And I think the same thing for Macy. I think Macy should have another opponent within that top 10, not top 5 as well, but within that 6 to 10 range. One of the other girls that maybe Alexa doesn't fight. Now, to the main event. The champion, Kamaru Usman, at 170 pounds, so the UFC welterweight division versus the number 1 contender, Gilbert Burns. Now, guys, this fight was destined to happen. Gilbert Burns, the front half of last year, was on a tear. Even after the UFC restarted back up with all of their COVID measures, Gilbert Burns was on a tear. He came out like somebody had set his pants on fire, and he just took it to the guys that he was fighting. What makes this fight also interesting, these guys were former teammates. They both started at Sanford MMA in Florida, which used to be a gym called the Black Zillions. Same school, same location, same gym, same town. They just switched up the name. So they both started as teammates at Sanford MMA in Florida. Gilbert goes on this tear early last year, and he's given a UFC title fight. He's given the UFC title fight against Kamaru. That was supposed to occur in July on Fight Island, and it was scheduled to. They had the contracts. Everybody was ready to go. Gilbert got COVID, unfortunately, so he had to drop off that card, and that was the card where they brought in Jorge Masvidal. Kamaru Usman and him fought back in July. Kamaru wins. So it sets up this fight now for Kamaru versus Gilbert. So here's where it gets interesting. The champ, so Kamaru Usman, actually leaves Sanford MMA, which shouldn't be surprising to anyone. It wasn't surprising to me that one of these guys left the camp that they were both in. It's really hard to fight a guy when you're training next to them every day. It really is. But what did surprise me was that it was the champ that left. So normally I would expect, and I think a lot of other people would expect, the champ to be like, hey, this is my gym. This is my yard. I'm the dog here. You can go find someone else to play with. That's not what happened, though. Kamaru actually leaves. He goes and joins Trevor Whitman out in Colorado. Phenomenal coach, by the way. Great move for him because Trevor Whitman he's honestly one of the greatest minds ever as a mixed martial arts coach. So he goes out and he joins Trevor Whitman in Colorado. Gilbert stays in Florida and continues his training camp at Sanford MMA. Now, it's also important to note that the head coach of Sanford MMA did not coach Gilbert at all leading up to this fight, and he completely removed himself from that role. He didn't even corner Gilbert. So that may have played a little bit of a role in how Gilbert's training went, but overall, I don't think it did a lot. Last thing I want to say, when the two fighters came in, they do a kind of a ceremonial rules discussion in the middle of the ring before the fight starts. Gilbert goes to touch gloves with Kamaru, which is a general, typical sign of respect that most fighters will give to each other. Kamaru, for some reason, doesn't return it. Now, I'm not saying this in any bad vibes, any bad gesture towards Kamaru. I just thought it was interesting that he didn't do it. He must have been, hey, man, this is all business right now. We can be boys. We can be friends afterwards. But right now, I'm here to fight you. I can't do that right now. That might have been his take. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. So let's get into the fight. So round one, Gilbert comes out and immediately starts landing a quick jab and a hook combination and just starts pressing Kamaru. Just starts really getting in his face, really kind of getting him backing up, which I thought was a good strategy to come out with. He ends up jabbing Kamaru again with his right hand early and drops him. But Kamaru gets back up, doesn't seem to be overly fazed by it. It definitely got his attention, but it doesn't seem to have taken him completely out of his game. So he gets up, comes back, he starts fighting back. Gilbert attempts to go to the ground at one point, and Kamaru wants none of it. And a lot of the talk leading up to this fight was, how did their sparring sessions go? And to me, when I saw Gilbert try to go to the ground and Kamaru essentially stand there and be like, no, we're not doing this. To me, in my mind, and I actually said this too while I was watching the fight, I was like, okay, well, I think we have our answer as to who got the better of the grappling exchanges on the ground in training. Because Kamaru just didn't want to go to the ground with him. He just didn't want to. So he settled for landing some leg kicks on Gilbert as Gilbert was trying to kind of coax him onto the ground. And then at one point, Kamaru comes over with a right hand, boom, right to the body. Great shot. And Gilbert does not like this. So he decides, hey, I'm going to get myself a little bit of space, get back up to my feet, because I don't want to eat another one of those with no absorption from being on the ground. So they're back up to the feet. In the final 2 minutes, the exchange back and forth was really good with the stand-up. Kamaru lands some shots. Gilbert lands some shots. Nothing really hurts or tags anybody, but definitely some good shots coming into that last 2-minute exchange there. After round one, I had to give it to Gilbert. I thought he did a little bit better on the stand-up. I thought the pressing was really impressive, and he was kind of controlling the pace with that. Like I said, he landed that jab and the right hand that dropped Kamaru in the round. Again, not saying that it phased Kamaru because he got back up and he started pressing back as well, but it definitely landed, so you got to give it some credit. And then I also think that it said something that Kamaru said, no, I don't want to get on the ground with you. I get it. That's not an actual advantage in the grappling, but I think it showed a dominance of that. Not that that's a scoring criteria, but in my mind, I was like, ooh, that's a point to note. So we come out for round 2. Opening minute, good back and forth in the stand-up. Again, Gilbert's landing some, Kamaru's landing some. Great back and forth exchange. Gilbert then stuns Kamaru again briefly, lands a good shot on him, starts kind of coming in, trying to press again. Kamaru then flips the script on him. He lands a great shot, a great right hand on Gilbert. Gilbert gets tagged. He's stunned. And so now Kamaru's the one that starts pressing and pressing and pressing. And he drops Gilbert with a jab. And they got about a minute and a half left in the round at this point. So he drops him with a jab. And Kamaru ends up controlling the remainder of the round. A little bit on the ground, some on the feet, but he controlled the remainder of the round. And that to me, it was almost like a turning point between the first 2 rounds. So the first round, that was Gilbert that was landing that shot and everything. That second round, Kamaru said, no, it's my time to do it. Round 3, Gilbert comes out and he opens up moving forward against Kamaru again, just pressing him. However, doesn't work out for his advantage this time. Kamaru comes out, Kamaru's in the round, and about 20 seconds in, boom, big jab again, drops Gilbert, and this time he closes the show out. He goes out, he finishes Gilbert with strikes on the ground. The referee steps in, stops the fight. So Kamaru Usman retains the UFC welterweight championship by TKO at 34 seconds of the 3rd round. My initial thought on the stoppage was it may have been a little early. Then looking at the replay, I changed my mind. It was a great stoppage. After the ref steps in, he stops the fight. Gilbert definitely appears to be out of it. He even had trouble sitting on the stool without assistance. So they ended up not even having him sit on the stool for a minute, or however long it was. They didn't have him sit on the stool for a while. They took the stool out not from under him, but they helped him to the ground again. Had him actually sit on the ground until he felt stable enough to sit on the stool. Kamaru and Gilbert embrace after the fight and everything, so I'm sure there's no bad blood between them. They knew it was all business. Great fight. I don't think this lowers Gilbert's stock at all. Gilbert did a great job in the first round and a half, really, and then Kamaru just kind of flipped the script on him when he dropped him in that second round, and then Gilbert tried to press him in the 3rd round, and Kamaru was just able to close the show out. That's how it goes sometimes. So that's how I saw UFC 258. That was my breakdown of it. We got another UFC card coming up this weekend, headlined by Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. 2 guys also tremendous heavyweights. This guy, I'm sorry, Francis Ngannou is not fighting Derek Lewis. Francis Ngannou is fighting Stipe Miocic later this year in March. Off the top of my head, I forget who Derek Lewis is fighting. Derek Lewis is in the main event. Curtis Blades, I'm sorry, there it is. Curtis Blades is fighting Derek Lewis this Saturday on a UFC Fight Night. Prelim card for that is going to start at 5 p.m. Main card is going to start at 8 p.m. So that's also going to be a great fight. Those 2 guys are definitely game, always ready to go. So I'm going to be giving you guys that breakdown next week coming up. I'm also going to be having a breakdown of kind of the state of the UFC lightweight division. That's going to be coming out later this week. So this first week of shows, I'm going to give you 2 in 1 week. Sometimes most of the time, it'll probably just be the 1 show for MMA, 1 show for boxing. I didn't break down a boxing card this weekend, so I'm going to break down the UFC lightweight division now that it appears that Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was the undisputed UFC lightweight champion, is retired, and at some point he's either going to be relinquished of the title, or he's going to relinquish the title. So I'm going to do a breakdown of the division and kind of what I think the next fight should be to kind of figure out who should be the next champ and where that division can go from there. But this is going to end this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Like, comment, subscribe, review. I'm going to be having a Facebook and an Instagram page put up soon, so make sure you guys go and like and follow those guys. If you guys know of anything coming up that you think, hey, I'd love to hear Rob's breakdown on this fight, shoot me a message, a comment, whatever, and I'll take a look at it and I'll give you guys the breakdown. Until next time, though, I'm Rob, and you guys just went one more round with Rob. Thanks. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time.